In India, the exercise of delimitation was carried out for nearly 4 times until now. Delimitation has been existing in our country since 1952. Not only just affects the Lok Sabha seats and also state assembly seats, but also it will affect the reserved seats of scheduled caste and scheduled tribes and ensure that the population control happened in their respective states. But many of the states did not follow all those policies brought by the central government. DMK, under the leadership of MK Stalin, has taken up this issue because they knew very well in 2026 how delimitation is going to impact each and every state, which has been progressive because they control the population. Why delimitation exercise was not carried out in 2021? The entire reason why, in that only 18% of population is from the southern states. How it will affect the existing house is also provided as part of Article 82. Delimitation is the buzzword today in the southern states. My dear friends, March 21, 2025, at Chennai in ITC Grand Chola, all the southern state chief minister assembled to discuss about the delimitation. First of all, we must understand what is delimitation, my dear friends. My dear friends, delimitation is, some people might come across this term only now, but delimitation has been existing in our country since 1952. In India, the exercise of delimitation was carried out for nearly 4 times until now. Delimitation, the word delimitation means a very important point to be noted. As in a simple term, the word delimitation means the process of fixing the number of seats and boundaries of territorial constituencies in each state for the Lok Sabha and Legislative Assembly. My dear friends, it is a process undertaken by the government in place to see to that, especially the central government, to see to that the Lok Sabha seats are truly representative in our country. Very important point to be noted. Periodically, the population in our country changes. And especially after 1971, there were population control measures brought by then central government at that point of time, Ms. Indira Gandhi. At that time, many states followed progressive methods of that then government and ensured that the population control happened in their respective states. But many of the states did not follow all those policies brought by the central government, and accordingly their population kept increasing. And today we stand in a scenario where there are states who are very progressive because they control the population. There are states still on a digressive basis, they have a population, wherein the population, there are states where the population kept growing without any control. My dear friends, in this backdrop, delimitation not only just affects the Lok Sabha seats and also state assembly seats, but also it will affect the reserved seats of scheduled caste and scheduled tribes. It will also determine the seats to be reserved for scheduled caste and scheduled tribe who represent seats, Lok Sabha seats in the parliament. My dear friends, how is the delimitation exercise performed? As per Constitution of India, there are 2 important articles which are relevant to be referred. Article 82 of the Constitution of India and Article 170 of the Constitution of India. My dear friends, under Article 82 of the Constitution of India, for the sake of all the listeners, I will definitely go through the bare provision. But before that, we need to understand, Article 82 provides for delimitation exercise in the name of readjustment after census. Readjustment after census is classified as delimitation. The word delimitation doesn't find its place in Article 82 of the Constitution of India. What we can find in Article 82 of the Constitution of India, Article 82 of the Constitution of India is readjustment after the census. How this readjustment has to be done? By such authority. How it will affect the existing house is also provided as part of Article 82. It is very, very important we understand about Article 82 in a detailed manner, my dear friends. My dear friends, as per Article 82, for the benefit of the listeners, let me read the bare provision as it is. Readjustment after each census. Upon the completion of each census, the allocation of seats in the House of the People to the states and division of each state into territorial constituencies shall be readjusted by such authority. Very important point to be noted. My dear friends who are pursuing law, benefit of all of you, you all will know the importance of shall. Shall means mandatorily. That means after every census, there has to be a delimitation exercise. So accordingly, readjustment exercise. This delimitation can be carried out only by such authority. Who is such authority is the question. That's where the authority is Delimitation Commission. So that means delimitation is mandatory after every census, shall be readjusted by such authority and in such manner. Very important. By such authority and such manner as Parliament may by law determine. That means there has to be an authority, that is Delimitation Commission, and Act has to be passed for the same. Delimitation Act has to be passed for the same. For example, if the delimitation is going to take place after 2026 census, then there has to be Delimitation Act 2026 or Delimitation Act 2027 or Delimitation Act 2028. There has to be Delimitation Act 2028 or Delimitation Act 2029, as the case may be, when the same is passed in the parliament. My dear friends, in Article 82 of the Constitution of India, there is also a provision. The provision is, it says, provided that such readjustment shall not affect representation in the house of the people until the dissolution of the then existing house. That means the existing house will not be affected because of the exercise of the delimitation. My dear friends, there is also two more provisos which are very relevant for better understanding of delimitation. My dear friends, provided further that such readjustment shall take effect from such a date as the president may by order, specify. Until such readjustment takes effect, any election to the house may be held on the basis of the territorial constituencies existing before such readjustment. Even though the readjustment, that is delimitation, could be done, but the delimitation or the readjustment, as the case may be, has to be approved by the president. The president may by order specify until such readjustment takes place, the existing house should not be affected. My dear friends, it's a very, very important safeguard provided under Article 82 of the Constitution of India on the existing house, because the existing house at no point of time can be affected because the delimitation exercise has been carried out and election cannot be announced immediately. That means the delimitation exercise can be carried out, Lok Sabha seats can be readjusted, but what cannot be done is it cannot go and affect the existing house in the parliament. My dear friends, there is also yet another provision which says that provided also that until the relevant figures for the first census taken after the year 2026 have been published, it shall not, very important, it shall not be necessary to readjust the allocation of seats in the House of the People to the states as readjusted on the basis of 1971 census, and the division of each state into territorial constituencies as may be readjusted on the basis of 2001 census under this article. My dear friends, that means going through the present Article 82, we can clearly understand there has to be compulsorily readjustment, that is delimitation. That delimitation has to be done by Delimitation Commission, and there has to be a Delimitation Act, and such a delimitation exercise cannot affect the existing house. This is the entire essence of Article 82. Going by this, we understand in India, delimitation has happened in 1952 once, 1963 in second time, 1973 third time, 1952 first time, and finally it also happened in 2002. But in 2002, it was decided that up to 2001, for nearly 20 years, there won't be any delimitation. This was an act passed by, at that time, by the Prime Minister, Atal Bihari Vajpayee ji, and accordingly, the delimitation exercise was never carried out up to 2021. The next question comes, why delimitation exercise was not carried out in 2021? The entire reason why delimitation exercise was not carried out in 2021 is because COVID-19 came, 2020-21 became a year of crisis for the country. Accordingly, census was not taken. It was postponed to 2026. Wherever it is said that census is 2021, it got replaced by 2026. That is the entire reason DMK under the leadership of MK Stalin has taken up this issue, because they knew very well in 2026 census has to be carried out mandatorily. Once census is done, definitely readjustment after census has to be done, that is delimitation has to be done. So accordingly, before the census work began, DMK led by Stalin, Chief Minister of Tamil Nadu, taken up this issue intra-state level and also with interstate level, that is southern states. My dear friends, in Tamil Nadu, moment this concept of delimitation started as a political agenda, many people felt it had no relevance. But today, in Tamil Nadu on 21st March 2025, southern states have come together to understand how delimitation is going to impact each and every state, which has been progressive because they control the population. My dear friends, not only that, if the census is going to be carried out in 2026, and when census is carried out based on 2026, and there is going to be a drop in the number of seats of the southern states, and definitely there is going to be increase in the seats on the northern states, based on 543 seats in the present situation, the Lok Sabha. So definitely there is a possibility that the southern states will lose their due share of representation in the parliament. Now we have seen the problem of the delimitation. So definitely this is a political agenda. Initially the DMK, Dravida Munnetra Kazhagam, led by MK Stalin, started opposing the delimitation exercise. But today they have come to a point where they're talking about fair delimitation within a period of 20 days, wherein they oppose the delimitation. Now they are talking about fair delimitation. Now, what does this fair delimitation campaign means? A very important exercise where southern states are not opposing the delimitation because it is not a choice for the central government, but it's a mandate as per Article 82 of the Constitution of India to readjust after census. But the southern states are trying to convey that as they were progressive and they control the population, their representation in the parliament at the overall level should not reduce, neither from the seat perspective nor in the representation in the Lok Sabha, in the parliament, that is House of People. That is Lok Sabha, lower house, that is House of People. So my dear friends, what is the solution is a very important point to be understood. Here, when the southern states are making a representation, they are giving a calculation to say, southern states are trying to convey that Constitution Amendment 42nd happened, and from 1971 to 2001, there was no delimitation. And second, based on 84th Amendment of 2001, Constitution Amendment undertook a readjustment and rationalized territorial constituencies on the basis of 1991. And on 87th Amendment of the Constitution, Constitution Amendment Act 2003 provided for 2001 census, and finally up to 2021 there was no delimitation. Accordingly, now if you do a delimitation based on 2026 census, when the southern states have more population, their representation will increase in the parliament. Accordingly, the southern states will lose the representation. They suggested saying that even though southern states have 18% of population in the overall population of the country, we know that India's population is 1.4 billion, nearly 140 crore population. In that, only 18% of population is from the southern states. But whereas from the contribution to the GDP, it is about 35% of the GDP. Accordingly, they also made a submission saying that the Finance Commission was based on 2011 census, where many of the southern states were on the losing end because they lost the fund because it was based on a population factor. Not only it will be a loss for the southern states from the representation perspective, but it will also increase the political power of the northern states over a period of time. Even when the coalition government comes, southern states may not have value. Is a concern of the southern states. Not only that, they are also concerned about principle of degressive proportionality, meaning when the southern states tried very hard and also ensured that the population control happened drastically in southern states, they are getting penalized because of it, will lead to a principle of degressive proportionality, wherein more population being present in the northern states will be incentivized with the political power in the parliament, is the concern that they raised. Accordingly, what is the solution? My dear friends, population control measures has to be taken into consideration as a factor in the Delimitation Act that will be passed in the parliament at any point of time after the census of 2026. In that, for example, now if we analyze, based on the survey, we can understand that every constituency which has a 10 lakh ideally has a representation in the Lok Sabha, representative in the Lok Sabha. That means for every area with a population of 10 lakhs, there is one representative, that is MP, now with 543 MPs in the parliament. Accordingly, suggested measure to have a fair delimitation ensure that the southern states representation of 10 lakhs will have one MP, but whereas northern states which has more population, for every 30 lakhs or 20 lakhs population, there has to be one MP. Through this process, not only the balance of power happens between the southern states and the northern states, but within all states in the country. This will also, over a period of time, push the other states to have more representation in the Lok Sabha to reduce their population in their respective states. My dear friends, if you also see a bit of calculation to check whether Tamil Nadu will be losing, if 543 seats are kept intact and based on 2026 census, if you are going to implement readjustment after the census, that is nothing but delimitation, then 39 seats of Lok Sabha will get reduced to 31 seats, because of which 8 seats will get reduced, Whereas, if you see the new parliament building, there are 848 seats in Lok Sabha. If you increase the seats to 848, then Tamil Nadu, which has presently 39 seats, will gain 10 more seats and totaling to 49 seats. But however, northern states having more population, if you apply 10 lakhs population as an average population for each MP seat, then northern states will have even more representation in the parliament, ensuring that southern states will lose representation power. Today, the factor of representation power for Tamil Nadu in parliament is 7.18%. This should not get affected because of delimitation. It should either increase or it should be kept intact. At no point of time, it should get decreased because the political power in the parliament would get reduced. My dear friends, considering all these situations and issues, one factor which could work is, with respect to southern states, 10 lakh population, 1 MP seat, 10 lakh population, 1 MP seat in the Lok Sabha, and northern states, 20 lakh to 30 lakh, depending upon the population, the formula or the factor can be arrived to see to that the balance of power happens. That is also the core principle of Constitution of India. My dear friends, whether it is Karnataka or Tamil Nadu or Kerala or Andhra Pradesh or Telangana, if they are losing the political power, definitely they will question this in the court of law, because even delimitation is subject to judicial review. We have to wait and watch whether delimitation will be done under a new factor or it's just going to be done based on the population of 2026 census, whether they are going to revise the seat from 543 to 848 or it's going to remain just 543, wherein southern states will lose drastically, or by changing the factor, they're going to balance the power, political power in the parliament. We have to wait and watch. Thank you.